Hello Gothic friend, this is Alice and you are in Gothic Land, a place where I help you overcome your communication fears by working on your critical thinking through the Gothic lens. And today I want to tell you 4 reasons why I think that the Gothic is more than entertainment and 4 reasons why I think it should be taught in the schools. Okay, so if you are ready for this today, I have a lot to tell you. A lot of people still think that the Gothic means to be dressed in black, is to wear black makeup, is to listen to certain type of music. Some people might just think it's just an architectural type. The thing is that the Gothic is more than that. The Gothic nowadays is a mode. It has evolved. It started with some characteristics and it has evolved into maintaining some of those characteristics but adding others. But what I want to talk to you about today is 4 reasons why I think that the Gothic is more than just entertainment, and give you 4 reasons why I think it should be taught in the schools. But before we go there, before I start elaborating all the 8 points in total, I want to remind you that I have a free PDF if you are thinking of working on your critical thinking to become a more effective communicator, overcoming your fears when speaking in public or when writing. I have this PDF called Down the Rabbit Hole that actually will help you with those communication fears, whether they are in the oral area or when you are writing. In that PDF, in that document that, as I said, is completely free, I talk to you about 6 questions that you can use to work on your critical thinking. I give you 5 tips to become an effective communicator and another 5 tips and action plans if you want to overcome your communication through the communication fears, through the Gothic. So that's free for you. Go and download it. I'm going to leave all the links here in the video, and it's something you cannot miss. It's totally free and it will give you a lot of it will set you off into this path, into this journey. So going back to the 4 reasons why I think Gothic is more than entertainment and why I think it should be taught in the schools, I have to tell you that we still have to remember that a lot of people don't know what the Gothic is. That's what I was mentioning before about the black looks and the dark looks and this depressed mode. Some people think that the Gothic means, or being goth means. Actually, this is an evolution. What we have nowadays is the aesthetics of when you're thinking about the Goths or Gothic, you're thinking about the aesthetics. You're not really thinking about the etymology of the word Gothic. I have another video about Goth versus Gothic if you're interested, and we are thinking about other elements, but we're not really considering everything. So let me just clarify a couple of things, because as my friend and academic and writer Tracy Fahey says, the Gothic is the broadest of churches. So it's really difficult to define, it's very difficult to pin down precisely because it has a lot of elements, and normally when we try to define it, we'll find that we do not want to miss anything out, and it's very difficult to know. It's a little bit like very runny. Yeah? It's something that is not consistent. It's not something that is really tangible and you can put limits to. So the first reason why I think that the Gothic is more than entertainment is that it makes you go to dark places in your mind. So it helps you elaborate or analyze your deepest fears, which, you know, nowadays in the society that we're living in, fears is the thing that we have every day. We fear everything. Everything is very worrying, more in a situation of pandemic, situations where people are at war, people are dying in the streets. You know, we have these we have fear constantly there. We mistrust the news, we feel manipulated, we don't know who to believe, we think that there are conspiracy theories all over the place. But the truth is that these fears are a reflection of our daily lives in the moment, the historical moment that we are actually living. And this is what's happened all along since the term Gothic was coined, or was actually connected to the literature, because some of you may know, Gothic is the name given to the Germanic tribes that were around between the 2nd and the 4th century. And they were the ones who actually removed the Romans. They replaced them. So the Gothic, what it does, it denounces these fears, it denounces the problems that create fears, and it is a way, it's a tool of saying, hello, there's a problem here, let's try to work it, let's try to solve it. So the second reason why I think the Gothic is modern entertainment is because it helps you elaborate your fears in a more reasonable way, in spite of what you may think, because it makes you ask questions, the questions of the critical thinking. It makes you investigate, it makes you emphasize, it makes you empathize with the monster. It makes you work on your identity. It explores possibilities you had never thought of. So basically, it helps you move all your critical thinking questions. And that's what we need. We need to move our brains. We need to be, we can't just let our fears take over and be irrational. We need to, at some point, feel that we are in control, and then we can overcome these fears. The third reason why I think that the Gothic is modern literature, is modern entertainment, is that when we are moving our critical thinking, you are also contributing with your communication. You are getting more tools, you are trying to describe what difficult feelings, which then leads you to use more complex structures or specific vocabulary. So things that might not exist in your physical world, and you're trying to find ways of communicating these ideas, that makes you use your vocabulary, your language in a more richer way, which this actually applies for natives and non-native speakers of the language. So obviously for second language speakers this is more so, but also for when it's your mother tongue, it's difficult to put into words how you feel and how situations they move you. So that's another reason what the Gothic does, as well as entertaining you. The fourth reason, and connected to this previous one, is that we try to find new ways of combining this vocabulary. And as I said, by doing these, we're not just acquiring new language. This is what we see as a consequence. But the reality is that what goes in our brain is that we are creating new pathways, which is very healthy for our brain. And as a writer, you are trying to create new experiences, you're trying to find new ways. So this is how writing becomes updates itself, and we get new writers with new ideas, because writers are constantly trying to find ways to make you go whoa, and to get you out of your comfort zone. So as a writer, you are moving that part of the brain that is creating, constantly finding different ways of communicating. But if you were the reader and this communication is effective and the vocabulary is being put in a way that visually creates these images and that it takes you to places you would never explore before, then we have this empathy, then we have that we discover new things, and we are actually physically moving at a neurological level. We are moving our brain, which actually, I'm not inventing this. There is research based on this information, and we can see this through MRI scans. So that's another reason why the Gothic is more than entertainment. So now that we have these four reasons, and if we keep looking, we will find that there are more. For the purpose of this video, I'm not going to elaborate any further, but that takes me to the next 4 points, or the next aspect, which is why I think this should be taught in the schools, why Gothic should be taught in the schools and is not. At the moment, in some schools, yes, in some countries it's more taught than in others. We have here that mainly, if you have a cool teacher, you might learn about the Gothic. So first reason why I think that we should learn the Gothic in the schools is that after a lot of research, the Gothic takes you to uncomfortable places. This is what I've realized with my own experience, but also after researching, right, or while researching, is that it takes us as readers to uncomfortable places we don't always want to be. And this, if you take the next step of, okay, it's hard, but I want to overcome my problem, I want to keep looking into it, then it's when you move on and you overcome that fear. It doesn't always happen, you know, when I've been asking on social media to people how has certain films or how have some films or some readings may have helped you with overcoming your fears. Not everybody feels that the Gothic gives them solutions. It could actually create extra fears that they didn't think about, because it create this awareness. But it's true that for some audience, and I include myself there, it's a place where I go and I find that I can overcome some worries, because I think that, or I feel that other people are like me, and that when I look at how they solve their physical or their mental problem, then it's something I can use in my life. So, but we have, you know, we're living in a society where, or in most societies, where we try to avoid painful moments. We try to avoid painful experiences. As parents, we don't want our kids to see the death of a pet, for example, or the death of a family member. We try to remove that from their lives, when reality is that this is not helpful. It's not healthy. What they need to do is to go into those areas. They need to explore how they feel. That's how they grow. That's how they mature. That's how they become balanced adults, by exploring the pain. I mean, I'm not trying to say that they should be exposed to this every day or all times, no, but to explore these feelings is healthy, and it's something that as a society we fail to do sometimes. And as I said, there's a lot that we could talk about, bereavement, we could talk about death and how we feel and how we overcome in the mourning of the whole process. But the Gothic allows you to do that in a fiction context. So you can work out certain strategies or certain ways of how you will react if you were in that situation. So that is healthy. It's healthy. Just healthy to make you grow as an adult, as a balanced adult. So the second reason is that, and connected to the previous idea, is that as humans we find uncomfortable talking about bodily decomposition. We even laugh at those people who believe in the afterlife, and this is because we don't really have a broader knowledge about the things that we're laughing about, or because we're scared, or because we think that if we tell other people our beliefs, we're going to be criticized and we're going to be treated as if we were crazy. So, you know, we try to remove also all the things that makes us feel that is ugly. You know, we don't like ugliness in our lives. We like everything to be pretty and beautiful and not visually uncomfortable. So as a consequence, then there are monstrous mutilations that people do to their bodies when they looking for this beauty that is only in our mind. And I'm talking here, I'm not going to go into our modern ways of mutilating our bodies to look pretty, because that would be endless. But I want you to think about, for example, what happens in the 18th and the 19th century when women used those corsets that actually what they did was to strangle their organs and to make them look aesthetically the fashion that was that, but then it wasn't really healthy from a medical point of view. The same happened with substances that they used to dye their clothing, as you know, or as some of you may know. They used to use this arsenic that is green and to actually make these clothes and books, pages, wallpaper, a lot of even jewels in green, and they were actually poisonous, and some of them died, some of them had hallucinations. So we are always chasing this beauty, and in doing that we create these monstrous behaviors and things that we are the worst enemies. And I want to give you a quote from I spit myself out from this book that you know that I really like, I love, in fact, yes, from by Tracy Fahey. A little bit of recommendation here. I spit myself out in a quote at the beginning of the book. Tracy tells us the following. She says, "The worst monsters of all are inside us. The most destructive seeds are those we plant within ourselves. And in writing ourselves, we take charge of this machine, steering it from the darkness of the past into a possible future." For me, this is very enlightening, because what we're talking here is about making things natural, making the uncomfortable natural. Don't hide it. If we do that also in the classrooms, then students are going to learn to talk about things that they're worried about without feeling that they're going to be criticized, or or the people are going to point at them. And by doing so, we're also exploring history, we're exploring cultural perceptions, our identities, the human mind. So overall, it's a holistic exercise that could make schools retake some healthy approaches to some subjects. So that will take me to reason 3, which will be to integrate in our daily conversations what makes us uncomfortable, not just in the classroom, but also in our conversations with friends, with family, with people in general. Why should we hide? The broader the knowledge of the world around us is precisely what makes things more balanced. And if you think about, for example, the Greeks and the Romans or the Egyptians, they took all the knowledge into a whole thing. They didn't just put on one side things that they didn't like, and if you think about the Egyptians, how they saw death, for example, and they made that natural in the routine of their lives. It wasn't something that they hid. They followed these rituals. So in all the different cultures, they moved on when they had an open mind, and they explored things, and they included even the disgusting and the ugly and the painful things from life into their routines. So this takes me now to point reason 4, which is the last one. And it goes again quoting Tracy. As she says in a quote, what we need to do is, if we want to move forward from whatever dark corner we are, is to voice those dark thoughts. And we have to start doing that from our schools. As I said, at home as well. There are ways of talking about things that are uncomfortable, that we can make them natural. We don't have to traumatize our children. They have to learn to see things as normal, because they are normal. They are part of the life. And as a society, we will be also happier if we could go and investigate those parts of our brains, those parts of our lives that make us normally uncomfortable, and they get hidden, and that they get put into books, or they get put into genres that then in the history has told us that the Gothic was one of those genres that were not highbrow. They were treated as low quality products, and because of what they say more than how they say things, it was more to do with the type of things, the type of messages that books have this powerful effect on people, that people, when they like something, we follow what is in those books. So the Gothic was a tool that scared a lot of people in the 18th and 19th century, because it spoke of things that were hidden, that were suppressed. And in the Victorian societies, as you know, suppressed, like the corset, it was all over the place. We're fascinated about this area, about this period, but the reality is that there was a lot of monstrosities going underneath. So I hope that all these 4 points about why I think the Gothic is more than entertainment have helped you, and why the 4 points why I think it should be taught in the schools. I hope that you find that useful, and I hope that you are really intrigued about this PDF that I have prepared for you, that is totally free, and that what tries to do is to help you overcome your communication fears by using your critical thinking and through the Gothic lens. Remember, it's a free download. It's called Down the Rabbit Hole, and it's only 3-4 pages, very easy. You can start implementing all the tips that are there already from day one, and I hope that you like it. But before we go, I would like to finish this video asking you a question. And the question is, or 2 questions. I would like to know, what is your relationship with the Gothic? If you have ever used it as a tool, if you have thought about it in these lines. And also, I would like to know if you're doing anything about it, or what your problems are when communicating. I would like you to tell me what your communication fears are, and if you've ever thought of a connection between the communications, your communication fears, and the Gothic, and how that can help you. So let's talk. Leave me all your messages there. Talk to me privately as well. Go to my website, have a look at everything I do. And please, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, to like, to follow, to share. You will do me a favor, and I will be able to create more content for you. So until the next time, thank you very much for being a subscriber, and see you next time.